The opening moments set the tone. Odyssey Sims sliced into the paint, gliding past defenders before leaning in for a smooth bucket. Just like that, Indiana stormed out to a 10-0 run, leaving the Minnesota Lynx stunned and calling for an early timeout. The Fever weren't supposed to be here, not with 5 rotation players, including Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Sydney Colson, sitting on the sidelines. But they were here, and they weren't just surviving. They were thriving, rewriting the story of their season with grit, depth, and belief. The win over Minnesota wasn't just another tally in the standings, it was a declaration. A team that had looked on the brink of collapse just 2 weeks earlier, dropping 4 of 5 games, suddenly ripped off 3 straight wins against legitimate playoff teams. And this one, against the Lynx, carried a special kind of weight. Kelsey Mitchell summed it up best afterward when she told her teammates in the locker room, "You've seen our growth." 4 words that captured everything this team has endured and how far they've come. For most franchises, losing 5 key players would end the season. Clark's groin injury took away not just points, but the heartbeat of the offense. Cunningham's knee sidelined her toughness and perimeter shooting. Colson, Chloe Beebe, and Ari McDonald each carried roles that mattered. Put all that together, and it should have been the final nail in Indiana's playoff coffin. But instead of sinking, the Fever rose. Head coach Stephanie White deserves immense credit. Her mantra of, "Be where your feet are," became more than a saying. It became survival. She forced her team to stop thinking about who wasn't there and instead lock in on what could be done with who was. That meant players embracing roles they never expected. That meant veterans leading by example. And that meant every possession was an opportunity, not a burden. Against Minnesota, the Fever showed what that philosophy looks like on the floor. They didn't tiptoe into the game, worried about their injuries. They attacked. They pushed pace, defended with aggression, and knocked down shots with confidence. Aaliyah Boston anchored the middle, demanding doubles in the post and still finding ways to score while setting up teammates. She tied her own rebounding record and even ran offense from the high post like a guard disguised in a center's frame. Around her, pieces clicked. Odyssey Sims, a veteran who's been searching for a fresh start, delivered it in real time. 15 points, poise at the point, and the kind of confidence you only get from experience. Aerial Powers stepped off the bench and unleashed back-to-back threes that felt like daggers. Lexi Hull was everywhere, contesting shots, switching onto guards and forwards alike, diving for loose balls, then knocking down buckets on the other end. Natasha Howard balanced the front court with efficiency, hitting mid-range shots and battling on the glass so Boston didn't have to carry the entire weight inside. By the end of the night, 5 Fever players had scored in double figures. That wasn't an accident. It was a team identity. They weren't leaning on one star. They were proving they could attack from multiple angles, defend as one, and trust each other to step up when the moment demanded it. But the heartbeat of this team runs through Kelsey Mitchell. While Clark's name commands headlines, Mitchell's historic season has quietly become the backbone of Indiana's resurgence. For the first time in franchise history, a player is averaging over 20 points per game across a season. She's broken records, carried the scoring load, and taken on defensive assignments against some of the league's best guards. In past years, traps and double teams might have forced her into mistakes. This year, she's matured. She knows when to shoot, when to pass, and when to steady the offense. She's not just scoring, she's leading. That's why her words in the locker room mattered so much. "You've seen our growth." She wasn't talking about herself, even though she's in the midst of an MVP caliber season. She was talking about the group. About a team that learned to play together under duress, that refused to cave when the season begged them to, that used doubt as fuel instead of dead weight. And this growth is bigger than one win, bigger than one season. Indiana just clinched its first winning record since 2015. That's nearly a decade of frustration snapped in a single campaign defined by resilience. These players aren't just patching holes, they're laying a foundation. Boston has proven she's not just the future, but the present. Sims and Powers have shown they can be difference makers. Hull has emerged as a defensive linchpin. Howard remains the glue. And when Clark returns, she'll be stepping into a roster that's battle-tested, playoff-ready, and unshakably confident. The Fever's transformation is also a cultural shift. This isn't a team happy to just sneak into the playoffs. They see themselves as contenders. Every high-stakes win over these last 3 games reinforced that belief. They know they can meet the moment, even with their backs against the wall. And now, as they head into the postseason, that mentality is their weapon. Stephanie White calls it being never satisfied. She doesn't let her team get comfortable with small victories. Each success is a stepping stone, not a stopping point. That's how Indiana has flipped the script from underdog story to contender's rise. And that's why Mitchell's words landed so deeply. Growth isn't about one hot stretch. It's about transformation. And the Fever have transformed before our eyes. Caitlin Clark hasn't disappeared in all this. She's on the bench, locked in, talking with teammates, breaking down plays, fueling energy from the sidelines. She knows that when she returns, she'll be joining a team completely different from the one she left. A team that no longer questions if it belongs. A team that proved it does. This win against Minnesota was more than a result. It was proof of identity. Proof that the Indiana Fever aren't just sneaking into the postseason, they're crashing through the door with belief, chemistry, and hunger. They've been written off, doubted, dismissed, but they never stopped working. Now they've written themselves back into relevance with resilience, growth, and an unshakable will. So what happens when a team built to succeed years from now suddenly looks ready right now? That's the story of the Indiana Fever. That's the story Kelsey Mitchell told with just 4 words. And that's the story still being written as the playoffs begin. If you're fired up for the playoffs, comment "fired up for the Fever" down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a moment of this incredible ride. The Fever are here, and they're not just making noise, they're changing the game.